Tomorrow begins taking shape before morning ever arrives. Not because you must do something perfectly tonight, not because there is one more task waiting for you before you are allowed to rest, not because sleep has to become another place where you succeed or fail. It is much quieter than that. The way you meet these last hours of the day can change the way your whole inner world carries what happened. A burden can remain clenched. A conversation can keep repeating. A fear can keep rehearsing tomorrow. Or something inside you can begin to understand that the working part of the day is over. You do not have to make that happen. You do not have to force yourself to relax. You do not have to clear your mind. You do not have to breathe in a certain rhythm, hold your body in a special position. Forgive anyone before you are ready. Solve a relationship. Understand your past. Become positive. Become spiritual. Or prove that you are healing well. Nothing is being graded here. Even your attention is not required in the way you may think it is. If your mind wanders while these words continue, that is all right. If you lose the thread of a sentence, that is all right. If you fall asleep somewhere in the middle, you have not missed the important part. Rest is not a test of concentration. You are not being asked to earn the softness you need. You have already spent enough of today responding to sounds, responding to messages, responding to faces, responding to pauses in other people's voices, responding to what happened, responding to what did not happen, responding to what you hoped would happen, responding to what you were afraid might happen next. A single day can contain hundreds of tiny moments in which your body prepares itself before you even know it has prepared. A notification appears and something inside you leans toward it. A name appears on your screen and your chest changes before you have read the message. Someone takes longer than usual to answer, and your mind quietly begins supplying explanations. A sentence lands differently than you expected, and part of you keeps turning it over long after the conversation has ended. You say, "It is fine." Your body may not be finished with it. You say, "It does not matter." Your jaw may still be holding the argument. You say, "I am over it." Your stomach may still be waiting for another piece of information. You say, "I will deal with it tomorrow." Your thoughts may already be standing inside tomorrow, trying to prepare the room before you arrive. This is how a day stays with you, not only through dramatic events. Sometimes the heaviest things are almost invisible. You opened your phone to check one thing and found yourself checking another, then another. Then something you had already checked. You looked to see whether the message had been read. You looked to see whether someone was online. You looked to see whether anything had changed since the last time you looked. You may not even have been looking for information. You may have been looking for relief. Just a small sign that would let some part of you stop wondering. You may have replayed a conversation while doing something completely unrelated. Washing a cup, closing a door, changing clothes, brushing your teeth, standing underwater, turning off a light. Your hands were in one place, but your mind had returned to a sentence from hours ago. Should I have said that differently? Did they mean something else? Why did their face change? Was I too much? Was I not enough? Should I have stayed quiet? Should I have spoken sooner? Why am I still thinking about this? And then the thought about the thought arrives. You judge yourself for still carrying it. You become tired of being tired. You become frustrated that the mind will not stop. You begin treating your own inner activity as another problem that should already have been solved. That second layer can be heavier than the first. The original moment may have lasted 30 seconds. The self-criticism can last all night. There are days when you perform calm better than you actually feel it. You answer politely. You finish what needs finishing. You keep the appointment. You make the call. You send the message. You prepare the food. You help someone else. You smile at the right moment. You say that you are okay because explaining everything would take too much energy. From the outside, the day may look ordinary. Inside, your system has been working without applause. It has been interpreting, predicting, remembering, comparing, preparing, protecting, watching for changes, trying to understand what can be trusted, trying to avoid what hurt before, trying to keep you connected to what matters, trying to make sure you are not surprised twice by the same kind of pain. That work may continue even when you lie down. The room becomes quiet, and suddenly the parts of you that had no space to speak during the day become easier to hear. A worry about money surfaces, then something about your health, then someone you miss, then something you regret, then tomorrow's list, then an old memory that seems to have no business appearing tonight. Then a strange little fear that feels almost embarrassing because it seems too small to matter. Nothing about this means you are doing rest incorrectly. Night often removes the noise that was covering what remained unfinished inside you. During the day, movement can keep certain feelings at a distance. There is somewhere to go, something to answer, something to fix, something to prepare. At night, there may be fewer places for the mind to hide its unfinished questions, so it brings them forward, not because it wants to punish you, because it still believes those questions may need your attention. Your mind may believe that if it stops thinking about something, you will become unprepared. It may believe that if it stops replaying a conversation, you will miss the lesson. It may believe that if it stops anticipating danger, danger will arrive unseen. It may believe that worrying is a form of responsibility. It may believe that vigilance is how love is protected. It may believe that tension is what keeps important things from falling apart. A mind can become devoted to protecting you through habits that exhaust you, that does not make the mind an enemy. It means some part of you learned to work very hard. Perhaps there was a time when paying close attention really did help. You learned the atmosphere of a room before anyone spoke. You learned to read expressions. You learned which subjects were safe. You learned when to say less. You learned when to become useful. You learned when to disappear into the background. You learned to solve problems early. You learned to stay ready. You learned that calm could change without warning. You learned that affection and uncertainty could exist beside each other. You learned that being prepared sometimes hurt less than being surprised. The body remembers patterns long after the original moment is gone. That remembering is not a moral failure. It is not evidence that you are weak. It is not proof that you have failed to think positively enough. It does not mean you secretly wanted what hurt you. It does not mean you created every difficult experience by thinking the wrong thought. Pain is not a punishment for imperfect thinking. Fear is not a spiritual defect. Exhaustion is not a character flaw. Your body is not betraying you when it tightens before your conscious mind understands why. Your mind is not ruining your life because it keeps revisiting something that failed. Unfinished. A protective pattern can outlive the situation that first taught it to exist. That is why kindness toward yourself matters here. Not forced kindness, not a bright sentence pasted over something painful, a more honest kind. The kind that says, of course some part of me became tired. Of course some part of me stayed alert. Of course some part of me wanted certainty. Of course there are things I cannot resolve tonight. Of course I needed ways to survive days that asked too much from me. And I do not have to punish myself for those ways now. There may have been moments today when you felt yourself becoming smaller around someone. Moments when you edited your real response before it reached your mouth. Moments when you wanted to say no and heard yourself saying yes. Moments when you wanted to ask for reassurance but told yourself not to be needy. Moments when you needed distance but worried that distance would disappoint someone. Moments when you knew exactly what you felt, but immediately began arguing against your own knowing. The body keeps track of these small separations from yourself, not as a judge, more like a witness. The shoulders remember how often they lifted. The jaw remembers what went unsaid. The throat remembers what was swallowed. The stomach remembers uncertainty. The hands remember reaching for the phone again. The eyes remember searching faces. The back remembers carrying responsibility. The chest remembers the moment something changed. You may not consciously remember every one of those moments tonight. You do not need to. You do not need a complete inventory before you can rest. This is important. There is a part of you that may believe relief comes after understanding everything. After every question is answered, after every person explains themselves, after every unfinished conversation is completed, after every decision is made. after the future becomes predictable, after you know exactly what you should have done differently, after you finally understand why someone behaved the way they did, after you can guarantee it will never happen again. That kind of certainty can become a door that never opens. Because life rarely gives complete explanations on command. Some questions remain unanswered for a while. Some people never say the thing you needed to hear. Some situations end without becoming emotionally neat. Some choices remain complicated even after you make them. Some days contain no final lesson. They simply end. Your rest cannot depend on life becoming completely resolved first. If it did, there would always be one more problem standing between you and peace. Tonight is not asking you to approve of what happened. It is not asking you to pretend something did not hurt. It is not asking you to call a loss a gift. It is not asking you to trust someone who has shown you they are unsafe. It is not asking you to erase your memory. It is not asking you to become indifferent. It is only offering a distinction you may not have been given often enough. You can stop carrying something for the next few hours without deciding that it was acceptable. You can stop analyzing a conversation without deciding that it did not matter. You can rest before the answer arrives. You can sleep while a decision is still incomplete. You can care deeply and still put the mental work down. You can love someone and stop trying to predict them tonight. You can be uncertain and still let your body experience this bed, this room, this moment. There is no betrayal in temporary rest. You do not betray your responsibilities by sleeping. You do not betray someone you miss by feeling peaceful for a few minutes. You do not betray your grief when your muscles soften. You do not betray the seriousness of your situation when one breath comes more easily than the last. Suffering does not become more meaningful because you carry it every second. Love does not become more real because you remain exhausted. Responsibility does not become more responsible because your mind works through the night. There are things that deserve your attention. There are also hours when attention needs to return to you. You may have spent today thinking ahead for everyone, remembering what someone needed, noticing someone else's mood, keeping the schedule moving, avoiding conflict, answering quickly, making sure people were comfortable, making yourself understandable, trying not to be difficult, trying not to ask for too much, trying to make your needs small enough to fit into whatever space remained. Then night comes, and you wonder why your mind refuses to become silent on command. It has been in service all day. It may not know the shift has ended. It may still be standing at the inner door, waiting for another request, another problem, another signal, another emergency that has not happened. This is where tonight can become different. Not dramatic, not magical. Different in a smaller way. You can begin communicating to the working parts of you that nothing more is required in this hour. You can let the unanswered message remain unanswered. You can let tomorrow's conversation belong to tomorrow. You can let another person's opinion exist without conducting a trial in your mind. You can let your own mistake be a human event instead of a permanent identity. You can let uncertainty sit somewhere nearby without giving it the whole bed. You can let the day stop receiving new arguments from you. There is something the mind rarely hears when it is afraid. Enough. Not enough as in giving up. Enough as in the workday inside you can close. Enough reviewing. Enough rehearsing. Enough predicting. Enough defending what you already know you felt. Enough trying to make a different past. Enough preparing for every possible future. Enough turning yourself into a problem that needs solving before sleep. Some part of you may resist that word. It may say, if I stop now, I will lose control. If I stop now, I will forget something. If I stop now, I will become careless. If I stop now, the feeling will become bigger. If I stop now, I might have to feel what all this thinking has been protecting me from. That resistance deserves respect too. You are not going to fight it. You do not have to force your mind into silence to prove you are safe. Force would only give the mind another reason to defend itself. You can hear its concern without obeying every instruction it gives. You can recognize the old job it has been doing. You can say inwardly, I understand why you stayed busy. I understand why you kept checking. I understand why you replayed it. I understand why you tried to predict the ending. I understand why you wanted an answer before sleep. You were trying to help me in the way you knew. Those words do not require you to like the pattern. Understanding is not surrender, compassion is not permission for suffering to continue forever. It is the beginning of ending the war between the part of you that is exhausted and the part of you that thinks exhaustion is necessary. So many people carry two battles at once. First, the original pain, then the battle against themselves for having pain. First, the uncertainty, then the shame of not handling uncertainty better. First, the rejection, then the question of what must be wrong with them. First, the disappointment, then the accusation that they should have known better. First, the fear, then embarrassment about being afraid. First, the exhaustion, then anger that they are not stronger. Tonight, the second battle can become quieter. You do not need to attack yourself for the way you survived the day. You do not need to be impressive here. You do not need to be spiritually advanced. You do not need to speak beautifully to yourself every minute. Sometimes healing begins with ending one sentence, "What is wrong with me?" and replacing it with a more truthful question, "What has been working so hard inside me?" That question changes the room. It turns accusation into curiosity. It gives your body a chance to be understood rather than corrected. It opens a little space around habits you may have judged for years. Maybe the overthinking was an attempt to prevent pain. Maybe the checking was an attempt to find certainty. Maybe the pleasing was an attempt to preserve connection. Maybe the silence was an attempt to stay safe. Maybe the busyness was an attempt to outrun something you did not yet have words for. Maybe the tension was a body that had not received a convincing message that the danger had passed. You do not have to decide which explanation is perfect. Human beings are more complicated than one explanation. The important thing tonight is that you stop treating every protective reaction as evidence against yourself. Your system was doing something, trying something, learning something, sometimes repeating something long after it stopped being useful. That is different from being broken. And some of the habits that once protected you may now be asking for a new instruction, not a harsh one, not stop, not get over it, not why are you still like this? Something more believable. The day is over. You do not have to solve it in the dark. That sentence may feel simple, but parts of you may have been waiting years to hear permission like that. The day is over. You do not have to solve it in the dark. There are things daylight is better for. Decisions are often clearer after rest. Conversations are often kinder when the nervous system is not exhausted. Problems can look different after the body has had a chance to stop defending itself against possibilities. Nothing requires you to produce tomorrow's wisdom tonight. You are permitted to be unfinished. That may be one of the most difficult permissions of all, to be unfinished and still worthy of rest, to have unanswered messages and still lie down, to have made mistakes and still receive sleep, to be uncertain and still soften, to be healing and still have difficult thoughts, to be strong and still become tired, to love yourself imperfectly and still deserve your own care. You may have learned that rest comes after completion, after the dishes, after the work, after the children settle, after everyone else is comfortable, after the messages are answered, after you have thought through every possible outcome, after you have made peace with everything. But the human body was never designed to reach perfect completion before it rests. Life rarely completes itself by bedtime. There is always another loose end, another possibility, another request, another memory, another thing that could be improved. If you wait for complete resolution, rest becomes a reward life can keep postponing. Tonight, rest is not a reward. It is part of being alive. You do not have to deserve it through suffering. You do not have to purchase it with productivity. You do not have to prove that you used the day well. You do not have to demonstrate that every person understands you. The hours behind you are already behind you. Some moments were beautiful. Some were ordinary. Some hurt. Some confused you. Some may still be following you into this room. They can be here without becoming your assignment. A thought can appear without receiving a meeting. A memory can rise without becoming an investigation. A fear can speak without becoming a prophecy. A sensation can exist without becoming a verdict. You are learning the difference between something appearing inside you and something requiring action from you. That difference creates space. A worry appears. You do not have to chase it. A memory appears. You do not have to finish it. A question appears. You do not have to answer it tonight. A future scenario appears. You do not have to enter it. What would happen if every thought that appeared did not require you to go after it? What would happen if the mind did not need your help gathering everything before rest? What if there were another way for scattered inner movement to settle? You do not need that answer yet. For now, it is enough to recognize how much chasing has been happening, how many thoughts you have followed because you believed leaving them alone would be irresponsible, how many imaginary conversations you have completed, how many futures you have visited, how many versions of yourself you have defended, how many explanations you have constructed for people who were not in the room, how many times you have tried to think your way into emotional safety. No wonder you are tired. This tiredness does not accuse you. It tells the truth about how much effort has been occurring beneath the visible surface. Some days exhaust the body through movement. Other days exhaust it through restraint, through holding back tears at work, through keeping your voice steady, through pretending not to care, through trying not to worry someone, through waiting for news, through staying polite around someone who unsettles you, through carrying a private fear while doing ordinary things, through being the person others lean on while quietly wondering where you are supposed to lean. Invisible effort is still effort. You are allowed to count it. You are allowed to admit that today took something from you. You are allowed to say that certain moments were harder than they looked. You are allowed to stop explaining why they should not have affected you. If it affected you, it affected you. That truth does not need a courtroom. You do not need to prove your pain before you can care for it. You do not need to compare it to someone else's suffering. You do not need to decide whether you had the right to feel what you felt. Your experience happened inside your life. That is enough reason to meet it with respect. And respect can sound very quiet at night. I am tired. That mattered to me. I did the best I could with what I understood. I do not need to keep punishing myself. I am still learning what safety feels like. I can stop working on myself for tonight. There is tenderness in that last sentence. I can stop working on myself for tonight. You are not a project that must remain under construction every hour. You are not an emergency renovation. You are not a list of wounds waiting to become lessons. You are a living person. And living people need intervals in which nothing is demanded from them. Even growth needs darkness. Even understanding needs silence around it. Even the strongest mind needs moments when it is not required to produce an answer. So if a thought comes now, let it be evidence only that the mind is still transitioning out of the day. If another comes, the same is true. You do not need to measure whether you are becoming calmer fast enough. You do not need to check whether these words are working. That kind of checking is part of the habit you are being invited to set down. There is no finish line inside this moment, only a gradual change of responsibility. The day held certain responsibilities. Night holds different ones. The day may have asked you to respond. Night can ask less. The day may have asked you to decide. Night can leave things open. The day may have asked you to protect. Night can begin teaching protection a softer language. The day may have asked you to carry. Night can begin showing you that carrying and caring are not the same thing. You can care without carrying everything through the dark. You can love without staying mentally on guard. You can prepare for tomorrow without rehearsing every disaster. You can remember what happened without reliving it as punishment. You can honor what your body felt without asking it to keep proving the feeling all night. Something in you has worked long enough. You may not yet know how it stops. You do not need to know. That is where we are going next. Not toward control, not toward emptiness, not toward a perfect silent mind, toward an older rhythm inside you that does not require you to chase every scattered thing home. For now, let that remain unfinished. Let the question remain open. You have spent enough of today hunting for answers. Tonight, one answer can come to you. It begins with something nature already knows. There is an hour near the end of the day when the world changes without announcing that it is changing. The light becomes lower. Edges soften. Colors lose some of their sharpness. What looked bright and separate in the middle of the afternoon begins to belong to one quieter landscape. And somewhere, far from the noise of human schedules, bees begin returning to the hive. Not all at once, not in perfect formation. Not because someone is standing outside calling each one by name. They have spent the day scattered. One traveled toward a patch of flowers. Another moved farther. Another followed a different scent. Another disappeared beyond where the eye could easily follow. For hours they moved through separate pieces of the world, each carrying something from where it had been. Then dusk approaches, the light changes, and the scattered movement begins finding its way back. This is the image I want to place beside you tonight. Not as another lesson to memorize, not as something you must visualize correctly, just as a possibility. 1,000 thoughts can move through one human mind in a day. Some fly toward work, some toward money, some toward the people you love, some toward what frightened you, some toward an old conversation, some toward tomorrow, some toward a mistake, some toward a hope you are afraid to hope too strongly. Some travel so far into imagined futures that you barely recognize where they went. Others remain close. They circle one familiar question again and again. What if? Why? When? Should I? What did they mean? What happens next? Where do I go from here? By night, these thoughts can feel like something you have to collect. You lie down and begin taking attendance. Did I answer everything? Did I forget something? What needs to happen tomorrow? What did I do wrong? What should I have said? What am I going to do if this happens? What if that person never changes? What if I change my mind? What if I cannot fix this? What if I wake up and still feel the same? The mind starts flying after its own thoughts as though every one must be captured before sleep can begin. But think of the hive at dusk. It does not race into the sky. It does not panic because one bee is still away. It does not abandon its place to hunt through every field. It remains. That is important. It remains where home is. There is something profoundly different between chasing what is scattered and becoming a place to which what is scattered can return. You have spent many hours of your life chasing explanations, chasing reassurance, chasing clarity, chasing a feeling of being finished, chasing the moment when everything finally makes sense. Sometimes chasing people, sometimes chasing approval, sometimes chasing the version of yourself you believe would finally be beyond fear. The mind can become very skilled at pursuit. It can convince you that peace is located somewhere ahead. One more answer, one more conversation, one more sign, one more achievement, one more apology, one more piece of information, one more night spent thinking hard enough. Then I will rest. Then I will feel safe. Then I will stop wondering. But the hive does not chase the evening. It receives it. The light lowers and the world begins changing around it. There is no argument with sunset, no demand that afternoon remain, no insistence that every journey be completed at exactly the same second. There is movement, then less movement, distance, then return, sound, then quieter sound, activity, then homecoming. Your inner life also has rhythms that do not respond well to force. A thought ordered to disappear often becomes louder. A fear told that it is ridiculous often becomes more determined to prove itself. A body commanded to relax may tighten because now relaxation has become another instruction it can fail to follow. A mind told to stop thinking immediately becomes aware of every thought it is having. This is why forcing rest can feel so exhausting. You are using the energy of effort to create the absence of effort. You are working hard at not working. You are monitoring whether you have stopped monitoring. You are asking, am I relaxed yet? Is my mind quiet enough? Why am I still awake? Why can I hear my thoughts? Why am I not calmer? And with every question, another little worker inside you leaves the hive. Another thought takes flight. Another problem is created from the fact that you are not resting correctly. There is another way. Instead of hunting down every thought, you can begin changing the conditions around them. The inner light can become lower. The day can become less available. The questions can lose their urgency. Your body can receive the message that no answer is required in this exact minute. The world outside may still contain unfinished things. That does not mean every unfinished thing must remain active inside you. The bees do not return because the entire world has become perfect. They return because it is time to return. That distinction matters more than it first appears. You may have trained yourself to believe that you can come back to yourself only after the world cooperates, after someone understands, after someone apologizes, after the money arrives, after the medical test, after the decision, after the uncertainty ends, after your family becomes easier, after the grief hurts less, after you finally become confident, after you stop making mistakes, after you become the person you think you should already be. But homecoming cannot depend entirely on circumstances. If it does, someone else always holds the key. Something outside you always decides whether you may rest. A message decides. A bank balance decides. A person's mood decides. An outcome decides. A memory decides. A future possibility decides. Tonight begins to separate those things. There are circumstances that deserve action. There are problems that need care. There are boundaries that need to be made clear. There are conversations that belong in daylight. There are decisions that matter. And there is still a difference between taking wise action and living in constant pursuit. The hive is not passive. It is alive, organized, responsive, full of intelligence. But it does not confuse constant flight with safety. That is one of the lessons hidden inside this image. Busyness is not always wisdom. Thinking is not always solving. Watching is not always protecting. Replaying is not always learning. Anticipating is not always preparing. Sometimes the wisest movement is return. You have probably experienced this without naming it. A problem looked impossible late at night, and in the morning it seemed smaller. A message you almost sent at midnight felt unnecessary after sleep. A conversation you rehearsed 20 times became much simpler when it finally occurred. An answer arrived while you were doing something ordinary after hours of trying to force it. A feeling became clearer only when you stopped demanding that it explain itself. There is intelligence in stepping away. There is intelligence in lowering the inner lights. There is intelligence in letting some things remain unresolved long enough for a deeper part of you to sort them without constant interference. Your conscious mind loves to believe it must supervise everything. It stands at the entrance with a clipboard. This thought belongs here. That memory must be analyzed. This feeling needs a reason. That fear needs an answer. This person needs to be understood. Tomorrow needs to be planned. Yesterday needs to be rewritten. And under all that supervision, the inner world becomes crowded. Tonight, imagine loosening the need to manage every arrival. A thought comes in. It comes in. A memory returns. It returns. An emotion moves near. It can move near. Nothing has to be wrestled into its proper place. There is room. This does not mean becoming careless with your life. It means recognizing that care and control are not identical. You can care about tomorrow without living there tonight. You can care about someone without following every thought you have about them. You can care about healing without making healing your full-time identity. You can care about your future without interrogating it. You can care about yourself without constantly evaluating yourself. The hive receives what returns without asking whether each bee flew perfectly. Think about that for a moment. No interrogation at the door. Where were you? Why did you take so long? Why did you go that far? Why did you get distracted? Why were you not more efficient? Why did you return carrying this instead of that? Human beings often greet themselves in exactly this way. At the end of the day, instead of receiving yourself home, you conduct an evaluation. Why did I say that? Why did I feel that? Why did I waste time? Why was I nervous? Why did I eat that? Why did I trust them? Why did I answer? Why did I not answer? Why am I still struggling with this? By the time the body reaches bed, it has been reviewed by the harshest manager it knows, you. And even that harshness has a history. You may have believed criticism would improve you. You may have learned that mistakes became safer if you found them before anyone else did. You may have discovered that judging yourself first softened the shock when another person judged you. You may have thought vigilance toward your own imperfections would protect you from rejection. So self-criticism became another form of scanning. Find the flaw, find the risk. Correct it early. Become harder to reject. Become easier to love. Become impossible to criticize. But you cannot build a true sense of home while standing at your own door demanding proof that you deserve to enter. Home is not an award for a flawless day. The inner hive does not ask whether you were perfect enough to come back. You come back because you belong there. This may be difficult to receive if belonging has felt conditional in your life. If love was warmer when you performed well. If peace in the home depended on someone else's mood. If approval had to be earned. If mistakes were remembered longer than your efforts. If being useful made you feel safer. If you were praised for being easy, quiet, responsible, strong, mature, selfless, or undemanding. You may have learned to confuse belonging with performance. So even now, when no one is asking anything from you, some inner part keeps producing evidence. See how hard I worked. See how much I handled. See how little I needed. See how well I stayed composed. See how useful I was. See how much I carried. Can I rest now? The answer does not have to be earned. You are already at the doorway. You are already part of the living system you have spent the day trying to protect. The question is not whether you deserve to return. The question is whether you can stop running long enough to recognize where home is. There is a reason the image of dusk matters. Full daylight asks for orientation. Where am I going? What is happening? What needs my attention? What can I see? Dusk changes the scale of things. The far edge becomes less important. The horizon softens. Distance loses some of its authority. The world draws closer. Night does not ask you to see farther. It invites you to stop living at the farthest point your mind can reach. So much anxiety happens at a distance from the present. Next week, next year, the next conversation, the next bill, the next appointment, the next loss, the next possible mistake, the next imagined disappointment. The mind leaves home and travels there. Then it returns with evidence from a place that has not happened. Your heart responds as though the journey were real. Your stomach tightens around an event that exists only as a possibility. Your shoulders prepare for a burden that has not arrived. Your jaw braces for words no one has said. This is how imagination can become physical labor. The body does not always distinguish perfectly between a threat in front of you and a threat repeatedly rehearsed in vivid detail. So the more the mind flies outward, the more the body may behave as though it must remain prepared. The answer is not to shame imagination. Imagination is also how you create, dream, plan, remember beauty, understand other people, picture a life that does not exist yet. The same power that can frighten you can also guide you. The question is whether every flight must continue after dark. Some journeys belong to tomorrow. Some thoughts can return without bringing back an answer. Some questions can enter the hive exactly as they are. Unsolved, unfinished, still yours. There is room for that. You do not have to transform every difficult thought before it may rest beside you. You do not need to convert fear into confidence before sleep. You do not need to turn sadness into gratitude. You do not need to turn anger into forgiveness. You do not need to make meaning out of what happened. Sometimes the kindest thing is to stop demanding that an emotion become something else. Let sadness be tired. Let anger be tired. Let uncertainty be tired. Let the part of you that wants answers become tired. Even vigilance becomes tired. Everything living needs a rhythm of effort and return. You are living too. You do not exist outside that law because you have responsibilities. You do not become less human because others depend on you. You do not lose your need for restoration because you are capable. In fact, capable people often become very practiced at ignoring the moment when they need to return. They can keep going, so they do. They can handle another problem, so they do. They can help another person, so they do. They can push through another hour, so they do. And eventually, endurance begins masquerading as identity. I am the one who handles things. I am the one who does not fall apart. I am the one everyone calls. I am the one who finds the solution. I am the one who keeps moving. There is dignity in strength. There is also danger in believing. Strength means permanent flight. Even the bee comes home. Not because it failed in the field, because returning is part of the work. Rest is not what happens when life stops mattering. Rest is part of how life continues. The body knows this, even when the mind has forgotten. Your eyelids grow heavier without asking permission. Your energy changes with darkness. Your attention becomes less interested in complexity. The body begins trying to reduce the world. Less light, less movement, less sound, less decision. These are not signs of weakness. They are invitations back toward rhythm. The mind may resist because it still has files open. It still has tabs running. It still thinks there is value in one more review. But there comes a point when more thinking does not produce more truth. It only produces more thinking. A bee circling outside the hive does not become more home by circling faster. This is where forcing and wisdom begin to separate. Force says, I must stop this thought. Wisdom says, this thought can finish its flight. Force says, I must relax now. Wisdom says, I can stop adding new work. Force says, I must get rid of fear. Wisdom says, fear does not have to lead tonight. Force says, I need certainty. Wisdom says, uncert. Auntie can remain outside tomorrow's door until morning. Force says, I must collect everything. Wisdom stays where home is. The difference can feel subtle at first. One is pursuit. The other is presence. Pursuit moves toward every object that calls for attention. Presence creates a place where attention can settle. Pursuit asks, what else must I fix? Presence asks, what if nothing else is required right now? Pursuit treats the mind like a field full of emergencies. Presence remembers there is a center. You have a center. It may not always feel peaceful. It may not always feel stable. It may not always feel familiar. But somewhere beneath the daily arguments, reactions, roles, and responsibilities, there is a part of you that does not need to travel as far as your thoughts do. Your thoughts can go back 20 years. You are here. Your thoughts can leap 10 years ahead. You are here. Your thoughts can enter another person's mind and invent what they are thinking. You are here. Your thoughts can construct 100 endings. You are here. Your thoughts can visit every place you failed to protect yourself. You are still here. This present self is the hive. Not because it is perfectly calm, not because it never hurts, not because nothing difficult exists here, because this is where your actual life is occurring. Here, not inside the replay, not inside the prediction, not inside the imagined conversation. Here, this body, this night, this breath arriving without needing your supervision, this surface holding your weight, this room existing around you, this moment asking almost nothing. The hive does not have to become beautiful before the bees return. It only has to remain available. You do not need to become a perfected version of yourself before your scattered parts can come back. You only need to stop locking the door against them. That means the anxious part can return. The tired part can return. The angry part can return. The hopeful part that feels foolish for hoping can return. The part that misses someone can return. The part that is relieved something ended can return. The part that does not know what it wants can return. The part that made a mistake can return. The part that stayed too long can return. The part that left can return. The part that wants to be held can return. The part that wants to be left alone can return. You do not have to make them agree before they belong to you. This is one of the ways inner conflict begins to soften. Instead of choosing which parts are acceptable enough to enter, you stop exiling yourself. You become less interested in winning an argument against your own experience. You become more interested in understanding what each part has been carrying. One returns carrying fear. One returns carrying disappointment. One carries an old memory. One carries a wish. One carries embarrassment. One carries a question. One carries nothing at all except exhaustion. They have all been flying. Tonight, they do not need another field. They need somewhere to land. And this is the part nobody taught many of us. We learned how to send ourselves outward, perform, achieve, explain, connect, protect, produce, respond, improve, prove. But not everyone learned the art of return. Not everyone learned what to do with themselves when nothing was being asked. Silence can feel uncomfortable when your identity has been built around response. Stillness can expose how accustomed you became to urgency. Rest can feel strangely vulnerable when alertness once protected you. This is why tenderness is necessary. Not indulgence, not avoidance, tenderness. A recognition that the parts of you that keep flying may not yet trust that they are permitted to land. You do not need to drag them down. You do not need to catch them in your hands. You do not need to shout over their movement. Lower the light, reduce the demand, stop adding distance. The natural intelligence of return can begin doing what force could not. There are thoughts that settle only after you stop arguing with them. There are emotions that move through only after you stop insisting they leave. There are questions that become clearer after they are no longer interrogated. There are memories that become less sharp when they no longer have to defend their right to exist. There are parts of you that become quieter when they realize quiet is not another punishment. This is not instant. Nature rarely needs instant. Dusk takes its time. The sky does not switch from afternoon to night in one harsh movement. Brightness withdraws by degrees. The eye adjusts. Shapes change. The world narrows. The distant becomes less demanding. That is enough of a model for tonight. You do not need to leap from stress into serenity. You can move by degrees. One unfinished thought receives less attention. One muscle stops preparing. One imagined conversation loses a little volume. One question becomes willing to wait. One part of tomorrow stays in tomorrow. One piece of today stops asking to be corrected. That is how return can begin. Small, unannounced, without applause. You may not even recognize the exact moment something inside you stops flying. A thought that had been circling for 20 minutes simply does not come back. A fear that felt enormous becomes less vivid. Your body changes position. Your breathing finds its own slower pattern. The space between two thoughts becomes slightly wider. You do not need to catch these changes either. If you begin checking whether you are settling, you send another worker back into the field. Let the hive do what the hive knows. That may be difficult for a mind accustomed to management. Rusting a natural process can feel almost irresponsible. You may think, if I do not supervise this, nothing will happen. But so much of your life happens without conscious supervision. Your heart does not wait for instructions. Your body repairs countless tiny things without asking you to understand the process. Sleep itself cannot be commanded into existence. You can prepare for it. You can make room for it. You can stop interfering with it. then something deeper takes over. This is not weakness. It is partnership with an intelligence larger than conscious effort. You do not have to control every mechanism that supports you. You do not have to understand every return. Some part of you already knows the way. That may be the answer that began coming toward you at the end of the last thought. You do not have to chase every scattered thing home. Home can become easier to find. The difference is enormous. For years, you may have believed your job was to run after every frightened thought and bring it back by force. Explain it. Correct it. Reassure it. Argue with it. Solve it. Tonight, consider another possibility. What if your deeper work is not chasing? What if your deeper work is becoming recognizable to yourself again? A place without interrogation, a place without performance, a place where unfinished things are not expelled, a place where your body does not have to prove why it became tired, a place where fear can enter without being crowned king, a place where sadness can sit down without becoming your identity, a place where uncertainty can stay for a night without taking control of the future, a place where the day can arrive carrying all its dust, noise, sweetness, disappointment, work, confusion, and unanswered questions, and still be received. This is the inner hive. Not an escape from life, a return to where life is actually being lived. Your mind will leave it again. Of course it will. Tomorrow there will be movement, plans, messages, people, responsibilities, possibilities. Your attention will travel outward because that is part of being alive. The goal is not never to leave. The goal is to remember return. Outward, then inward. Effort, then restoration. Attention, then release. Day, then dusk. Flight, then home. Without this second half, life becomes only departure. No creature can live forever in departure. Some part of you has been waiting for the second half, not another technique, a rhythm. You go out into the world. You gather what the day gives you. You carry some things farther than you expected. You become distracted. You become frightened. You find beauty. You lose your direction for a while. You follow something that turns out not to be yours. You protect what matters. You spend energy. Then the light lowers and you return. Not because every journey made sense, not because every field was kind, not because everything you carried was pleasant. You return because there is somewhere in you that still recognizes you. That recognition does not ask for perfection. It says only, you have been out long enough. Come closer. There is room. There is no need to bring tomorrow with you. There is no need to leave part of yourself standing outside because it had a difficult day. One by one, the scattered pieces can begin moving toward the same quiet center, not because you caught them, because the light is lowering, because the work is changing, because your body does not need to remain an open field all night. And soon we will give this return words, not many, not complicated ones, words simple enough for the tired parts of you to believe. Before that, stay here for a little while longer with the image of evening finding what has been scattered. No chasing, no hunting, no demand that everything arrive at once. Only the hive remaining where it has always been, and the first distant wings beginning to turn toward home. Those first distant wings do not need to be summoned. They know something that effort keeps forgetting. Return does not begin with capture. It begins when home becomes easier to recognize than the field. That changes the meaning of what you are doing here tonight. You are not standing inside yourself with a net. You are not trying to catch every thought before it disappears. You are not sorting your mind into acceptable and unacceptable pieces. You are not forcing every unfinished feeling into a conclusion. You are making the center recognizable again. That center may have become difficult to find during the day. Attention traveled outward, toward work, toward other people, toward problems, toward screens, toward what needed to be remembered, toward what could go wrong, toward what somebody else might be thinking, toward the version of tomorrow you were trying to prepare before tomorrow even existed. Every journey of attention carried you a little farther from the quiet fact that you were still here beneath all of it, still breathing, still inhabiting this one body, still deserving somewhere inside yourself where nothing had to be performed. The hive remained even when you forgot it. That may be one of the most important truths of this night. You do not create home from nothing every time you need it. You return to something that has continued existing beneath the noise. A center does not disappear because you became anxious. It does not disappear because someone disappointed you. It does not disappear because you made a mistake. It does not disappear because you stayed away from yourself for too long. It does not disappear because your thoughts became loud. It does not disappear because your body learned to brace. The doorway can become difficult to recognize. That is different from the doorway being gone. Think of how often you have assumed that feeling scattered meant you had lost yourself. You may have said, "I do not feel like myself anymore. I do not know what is happening to me. I used to be calmer than this. I used to trust myself more. I used to sleep better. I used to have more energy. I used to know what I wanted." There can be grief in those sentences. They can make it seem as though some original version of you disappeared, and now your task is to rebuild that person exactly. But human beings are not statues that must be restored to an earlier shape. You have lived since then. You have learned things, lost things, loved people, outgrown identities, carried responsibilities, encountered disappointment, changed your mind. Survived days you did not expect to survive in the way you did. You do not have to become who you were before everything happened. Home can receive who you are now. That means tonight is not a journey backward. You are not trying to recover an untouched version of yourself. You are returning with everything you know now, with the scars, with the uncertainty, with the wisdom that arrived through experiences you would never have chosen, with the questions still unanswered, with the parts that remain tender. The hive does not reject the traveler for carrying evidence of the field. It receives the traveler as it is. This is where the teaching becomes personal. A thought about tomorrow can return. It does not need to become tomorrow's solution. A memory can return. It does not have to become tonight's punishment. An emotion can return. It does not have to justify its presence. A fear can return. It does not have to become the leader of the whole inner world. Everything does not need the same authority merely because it appears. That distinction creates freedom. There is a great difference between hearing a thought and following it, between feeling fear and organizing the night around fear, between remembering pain and reopening the entire scene, between uncertainty entering the room and handing uncertainty every key. You can receive what returns without becoming obedient to it. This is how the hive becomes more than an image. It becomes a different relationship with your own mind. Instead of asking, "How do I stop thinking?" you begin asking, "Do I have to follow this thought?" Instead of asking, "How do I make this feeling disappear?" you begin asking, "Can this feeling exist here without running the night?" Instead of asking, "How do I become calm immediately?" you begin asking, "Can I stop adding more work?" Those questions do not demand perfection. They create room. And room is often what the exhausted mind has needed more than another instruction. You have received enough instructions. Think positively. Move on. Stop worrying. Be grateful. Forgive. Forget. Work hard. Work. Care less. Care more. Trust. Let go. Stay strong. Do not overthink. Do not take it personally. Do not be so sensitive. You may have heard so many commands about your inner life that even healing began sounding like another authority telling you how to behave. Tonight does not need to become that. You do not need to perform peace. You need a relationship with yourself in which peace has somewhere to arrive. There is a difference. Performance asks, "Do I look healed?" Relationship asks, "Am I still with myself while this is hard?" Performance asks, "Am I thinking the correct thought?" Relationship asks, "What does this part of me need in order to stop defending itself for 5 minutes?" Performance asks, Have I finally become positive enough? Relationship asks, can I tell the truth without turning the truth against myself? The hive is relationship. It is the place in you that does not require a performance before entry. And this brings us to the words that have been waiting behind everything we have explored. They are not magic words. They do not command the body. They do not guarantee a particular morning. They are a direction, a way of speaking to the part of you that has been flying from one problem to another. A sentence that does not ask the thoughts to disappear. It asks you to stop chasing them. I can come home to myself without chasing every thought. There is no hurry to believe every word. Hear the shape of the sentence first. I can come home to myself without chasing every thought. It does not say every thought must stop. It does not say every fear must vanish. It does not say you must become someone who never worries again. It does not even say that you already know perfectly what coming home to yourself feels like. It says something smaller. You do not have to chase everything. Say it again, more gently. I can come home to myself without chasing every thought. One part of that sentence may be easier to receive than another. For some people, the difficult word is not thought. It is home. Home can be complicated. The word may carry warmth for one person and tension for another. For one person, it means a familiar room, a voice they trusted, food on a table, being known without explanation. For someone else, it may carry conflict, unpredictability, criticism, loneliness, fear, or the memory of always needing to stay alert. So, if some part of you resists the phrase "come home," there is nothing wrong with that response. Your experience gives words their emotional weight. No phrase becomes healing merely because it sounds beautiful. If home has not always meant safety, then we do not force the word to pretend otherwise. We give it a new meaning here. Home does not have to mean a building. It does not have to mean your childhood. It does not have to mean any relationship that harmed you. It does not have to mean returning to a person, a place, or a version of life that was not safe for you. Here, home means the place inside your present life where you are no longer required to abandon your own truth in order to belong. A place where your no can remain no. A place where exhaustion does not need an excuse. A place where fear can be heard without being mocked. A place where your body is not treated like an inconvenience. A place where you do not have to become smaller to remain welcome. A place where your own experience is not constantly argued out of existence. That kind of home may need to be built slowly. There is no shame in that. If you have lived through times when safety was uncertain, The body may not trust peaceful words immediately. Trust is not created by insisting harder. Trust grows through consistency, through boundaries that are respected, through choices that support your well-being, through people whose actions match their words, through leaving situations that repeatedly injure you when leaving is possible and safe, through asking for help when something is larger than what you should have to carry alone, through treating your own signals as information rather than inconvenience. Your inner hive is not a command to stay anywhere harmful. Peace does not require you to tolerate mistreatment. Compassion does not require access to you. Forgiveness, if it ever becomes meaningful to you, does not require renewed contact. Love does not erase boundaries. Rest does not mean ignoring danger. If something in your life is unsafe, threatening, abusive, or seriously harming your well-being, caring for yourself may include distance, practical support, trusted people, community resources, or qualified professional help. That is not failure. That is care becoming action. And if anxiety, grief, trauma, depression, physical symptoms, sleep difficulties, or any other concern is deeply affecting your life, words like these can support reflection and emotional comfort, but they are not a replacement for appropriate medical or psychological care. You are permitted to use every form of support that helps you move toward greater safety and well-being. There is strength in being supported. There is wisdom in knowing when the burden should not remain private. There is love in boundaries. There is love in getting help. There is love in leaving what repeatedly causes harm. There is love in staying close to people who treat your humanity with respect. This matters because the hive we are creating tonight is not a fantasy in which nothing difficult exists. It is a place from which reality can be met more clearly. True rest does not make you easier to harm. True peace does not erase discernment. A settled mind can sometimes hear its own no more clearly. A rested body can sometimes recognize what constant stress was making difficult to see coming home to yourself. Means becoming harder to separate from your own knowing. It means you do not have to trade truth for temporary approval. You do not have to call chaos passion. You do not have to call fear loyalty. You do not have to call exhaustion love. You do not have to call self-erasure kindness. Those distinctions belong to daylight too. Tonight, you are only giving them somewhere to rest. Some part of you may hear all of this and still say, I do not know how. I do not know how to feel safe. I do not know how to stop chasing. I do not know how to trust myself. I do not know how to rest while things are unfinished. That honesty is welcome. You never have to claim a belief that your body rejects. There is another sentence for the nights when the larger affirmation feels too far away. I am willing to believe that rest can become safer for me. That is enough. Willingness is smaller than certainty. It does not demand that you already feel safe. It does not pretend fear is gone. It does not require confidence. It creates one unlocked window. Rest can become safer for me. Not perfect, not instant. Safer. A little more familiar, a little less like surrender, a little less like losing control, a little more like being supported by the surface beneath you, a little more like letting one inner worker leave its post. That is how trust often grows, not through dramatic declarations, through repeated evidence. You lie down and nothing terrible happens because you stopped reviewing one conversation. You postpone a decision until morning and discover that waiting did not destroy your future. You do not answer immediately, and the world continues. You let a thought pass unanswered, and it loses some of its authority. You rest for an hour and realize responsibility was still there when you returned. Small evidence, again and again. The body learns from experience. If it learned vigilance through experience, it can also learn new possibilities through experience, not by denying the past, by accumulating different moments in the present. A moment when you say no and survive the discomfort. A moment when you ask for support and are met with care. A moment when you stop explaining yourself. A moment when you recognize that someone's disappointment does not automatically mean you did something wrong. A moment when you let your phone remain where it is. A moment when a question goes unanswered and you do not collapse. A moment when you sleep before everything is complete. These experiences become new information. The inner hive changes through new information. This is why there is no need to wage war against old patterns. A pattern is often a conclusion the body reached from repeated evidence. Give it new evidence, not arguments. Evidence. Tonight can become one small piece of that evidence. Nothing dramatic has to happen. You do not need to wake transformed. You do not need to feel different. Tomorrow in a way anyone else can see. The body can learn from subtle things. The jaw that unclenches once. The hand that does not reach for the phone. The thought that is permitted to pass. The question that waits. The memory that is met without self-attack. The boundary you remember belongs to you. The 5 minutes in which nothing is demanded. These moments count. The mind loves large proof. The body often learns through repetition, so there is no need to manufacture an extraordinary experience tonight. Ordinary safety is valuable. Ordinary rest is valuable. Ordinary moments in which you are not at war with yourself are valuable. The bees return one by one. No trumpet, no audience, no announcement that the work of returning has begun. One set of wings appears near the entrance, then another, then another. The field becomes quieter, not because the field has been conquered, but because fewer travelers remain inside it. This is the answer to the question we left open earlier. What happens if you do not chase every scattered thought yourself? At first, nothing may seem to happen. A thought still moves. Another appears. The mind still offers unfinished business. But you remain. You stop turning every movement into pursuit. You stop leaving the hive each time something crosses the horizon. And then an unexpected thing becomes possible. Some thoughts return without being chased. Some thoughts complete themselves. Some lose importance before they ever reach you again. Some stay in the field until morning, and morning deals with them more wisely. Some were never yours to carry in the first place. The answer was never a better net. The answer was becoming easier to return to. This is why control has exhausted you. Control assumed every scattered thing was your responsibility. Every mood in the room, every person's opinion, every possible future, every unfinished conversation, every misunderstanding, every risk, every memory, every sign, every silence. That is too much sky for one person to patrol. You were never meant to fly after all of it. There are things you can influence, things you can choose, things you can repair, things you can leave, things you can say, things you can refuse, things you can prepare for. And there are things that do not become more controllable because you lose sleep over them. Another person's honesty, another person's readiness, the past, timing, chance, every future outcome, every judgment, every ending, every beginning. The mind may still fly toward these things. That is what minds do. Your freedom grows when you recognize that following is optional. A thought can travel farther than you are required to go. Let it. You can remain closer to home. This is not indifference. It is conservation. The day spent your to attention in hundreds of directions. Night can begin gathering attention back toward the life immediately around you. The support beneath your body, the air entering and leaving, the quiet behind the words. The fact that nothing needs to be answered in this instant. You do not need to make these things sacred. Their ordinariness is enough. Here, now. No performance. There may still be tension. Let tension be here without assigning it a deadline. There may still be sadness. Let sadness sit without being questioned. There may still be anger. Anger can rest too. There may still be a part of you planning tomorrow. It can lower its pencil for a while. There may still be someone in your mind whom you wish you could understand. You do not need to enter their mind tonight. Return from there. There may still be a younger version of you appearing in memory. You do not have to rewrite the entire past. Receive that part. There may still be a future version of you you are desperate to become. You do not need to reach them tonight. Let them remain ahead. You are here. The hive is here. The door is not asking for credentials. This is enough for now. Some of the busiest parts of you may still be circling. One part counts tomorrow's obligations. One checks whether everyone is okay. One prepares explanations. One rehearses what it will say if something goes wrong. One watches the emotional weather of people who are not even present. One holds a list. One keeps score. One scans for danger. One reviews your own behavior. They have worked a long shift. You do not have to fire them. You do not have to hate them. You can begin showing them that their jobs do not require 24-hour coverage. A protector can rest without losing its value. A responsible person can sleep without becoming irresponsible. A loving person can stop monitoring everyone for a night. A careful person can leave some things unchecked. A thoughtful person can stop thinking before every thought has reached a conclusion. Your worth is not measured by how continuously you remain on duty. There is something deeply human about coming to the edge of your capacity and saying, "This can wait." Not everything, just this, just for now. The unresolved message can wait. The imagined conversation can wait. The explanation can wait. Tomorrow's list can wait. The judgment can wait. The need to know can wait. The part of you that has been standing at the entrance of the hive, counting every arrival, can begin to lower its hand. Not all the way. No pressure, just a little. There is one worker still pacing, one final inner guard who believes that if it stops watching the day, something important will be lost. It has kept the records, held the tension, remembered the unfinished things, stayed close to the door. We will meet that part later. There is no need to send it away yet. For now, know that even the guard is tired. Even the watcher belongs inside. Even the part that does not know how to stop has somewhere to return. And when its shift finally ends, the question will not be what disappeared. The question will be what remains when nothing inside you has to patrol the day anymore. For now, there is still light at the edge of the sky. There is still movement near the entrance. There is still time for each tired part to recognize the way back. No chasing, no accusation, no demand that every wing arrive together. You remain. The hive remains, and more of you is already turning toward home. The ones still turning toward home do not need to be hurried. Some parts of you have spent so long moving that stillness can feel unfamiliar at first. There may be a final worker inside who does not yet believe the day is finished. It keeps walking the edge, checking what was said, checking what was left unsaid, checking tomorrow, checking whether something important has been forgotten, checking whether everyone is all right, checking whether you are all right. It has learned to call this responsibility. Perhaps it has been responsible for years. It may have protected you by remembering what others forgot, by reading what others did not say, by anticipating what might change, by keeping difficult possibilities within reach. A guard like that does not need to be defeated. It needs to know the gate is still there even when it rests. The hive does not become unprotected because one tired worker stops pacing. Home remains home. The entrance remains. The night remains. The wisdom that brought each scattered part back does not disappear because vigilance becomes quieter. That worker may not fully trust this yet, so there is no argument, no demand, only another piece of information. You do not have to stay awake inside yourself to prove you care about your life. You do not have to hold every thread through the dark. You do not have to stand at every doorway. You can return too. Even the watcher can return. Even the part that keeps score. Even the part that holds the list. Even the part that prepares the answer before anyone asks the question. Even the part that believes rest must wait until everything has been checked one final time. The field is getting darker now. Not frightening, just complete. The kind of darkness that tells the working world it no longer needs to be fully visible. The distant flowers no longer need to be visited. The paths no longer need to be mapped. The farthest edge no longer asks anything from you. There is a time to move outward. There is a time to come back. And somewhere inside this night, you may be ready to make a promise that belongs only to this image. Not a promise about forever, not a promise that you will never worry again. Not a promise that tomorrow will be easy. A promise for return. A promise for this lowered light. A promise that does not use force. I return to my hive as the light lowers. That is the vow. I return to my hive as the light lowers. It does not say that every part of you arrives at the same moment. It does not say the sky becomes empty. It does not say no thought remains in flight. It says you return. You turn toward the place where you no longer have to perform, toward the center that does not interrogate you, toward the place in yourself where unfinished things may exist without becoming emergencies. You return with what happened. You return with what did not happen. You return with the words you wish you had said. You return with the words you are glad you did not say. You return with the unanswered question. You return with the decision still waiting. You return with the part of you that wants certainty. You return with the part of you that knows certainty may not come tonight. Nothing needs to be left outside. This is not a vow of perfection. It is a vow of belonging. The light lowers. You return. The day loosens its claim. You return. The far field becomes less important. You return. The watcher realizes the gate is still standing. You return. There is something almost tender about a vow that asks so little. No achievement, no transformation, no dramatic declaration, only return. The body understands this language more easily than grand promises. Bodies live in rhythms, wake and sleep, effort and recovery, hunger and nourishment, movement and stillness, tension and release, expansion and contraction, outward and inward. The mind can argue with rhythm. The body cannot live without it. So now the vow begins moving out of thought and into the places that have carried the day, not by commanding them to relax, by giving each one permission to stop working for a while. Start where so many days collect without being invited. The forehead. It may have tightened around concentration, around worry, around the effort to understand, around the small strain of reading messages, looking at screens, watching expressions, thinking ahead. The forehead does not need to solve another thing. The field is darkening. The lines of effort can become less important. You do not have to press them away. The skin can simply stop participating in tomorrow. The brow can stop leaning toward the next question. Nothing in front of you requires that concentration now. The forehead can return. A small part of the day comes home. Then the eyes. How much have they searched? Screens, faces, doors, clocks, numbers, words, signals. The eyes have looked outward for hours. They have gathered information. They have watched for changes. They may have checked the same thing more than once because some part of you hoped the next look would feel different. The eyes do not need another answer. They do not need to search the darkness. They can stop gathering. The field does not need to be seen at night. The hive knows where it is without looking. The eyes can return. Another traveler comes home. Then the jaw. Perhaps it carried words that never left your mouth. Perhaps it tightened when you wanted to disagree. Perhaps it held back anger, held back tears, held back the truth. Perhaps it clenched while you were trying to stay composed. Perhaps it worked through conversations that continued long after the other person had gone. Nothing needs to be said now. No defense needs to be prepared. No explanation needs to be rehearsed. No argument needs to be won while you lie here. The jaw can stop guarding the doorway of speech. It can rest from the work of holding. The jaw can return. Another pair of wings folds, then the throat, a place where so much human truth waits. Words you wanted to speak, questions you were afraid to ask. No, that became yes. Yes that carried uncertainty. Names you wanted to say, apologies you deserved but never received. Needs that became difficult to express. Your throat does not need to become brave tonight. It does not need to produce a perfect voice. It can simply stop carrying every unsaid sentence at full volume. What belongs to tomorrow can remain unsaid until tomorrow. What belongs to a boundary can be spoken when you are ready. What belongs only to you does not have to be explained. The throat can return. The hive does not require a speech. Then the shoulders. They may know the day better than your memory does. Responsibility often climbs there without asking permission. One task, then another, someone else's need, then another, an expectation, a worry, a deadline, a family concern, a private fear, a responsibility no one thanked you for carrying. The shoulders have been excellent workers. They do not need to prove it now. Nothing falls apart because they lower their guard. The world does not require your muscles to hold it together. You can care without lifting everything. You can love without carrying everyone. You can be dependable without remaining physically braced through the night. The shoulders can stop standing in the field. They can return. Another part of you reaches home. Then the chest. This may be where the day became personal. A message landed here. A silence landed here. Relief landed here. Hope landed here. Fear landed here. The chest may have tightened before your thoughts found language. It may have expanded around something beautiful and then closed again when you became afraid of losing it. It may carry grief, longing, a sense of waiting, a name, a memory, a future you want, a future you fear. There is room for all of that without asking the chest to remain armored. The hive can contain tenderness. It can contain uncertainty. It can contain love that does not know what happens next. The chest does not have to hold the whole sky open. It can return. You are not asking the heart to stop caring, only to stop patrolling. Then the hands. These hands have done things today, held things, typed things, prepared things, cleaned things, reached, carried, answered, scrolled, opened, closed. Perhaps they reached for the phone before you even decided to. Perhaps they stayed busy because stillness felt too close to what you were feeling. Hands learn habits too. They learn to check, to grip, to fix, to hold on, to keep themselves occupied. For now, there is nothing they need to retrieve from the field. No message needs to be pulled closer. No person needs to be held in place. No outcome can be gripped into certainty. The hands can become empty without losing anything essential. An empty hand is not a failed hand. It is a hand with no assignment. The hands can return. Another task ends. Then the stomach. The place where uncertainty so often speaks before words appear. A future concern may live here, an unfinished conversation, a decision, an old fear, something you sensed before you could explain it. The stomach may tighten around possibilities as though bracing could make them easier. It may respond to things no one else can see. That response deserves respect. And tonight, it does not need further interrogation. You do not need to ask the body to explain every sensation before you care for it. A feeling can be real even when its meaning is not yet clear. The stomach can release the duty of prediction. It does not need to tell tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. It can return. The field can keep its unanswered questions. Then the back. The part of you that has quite literally carried you through chairs, through roads, through work, through standing, through lifting, through long hours, through moments when you wanted support and kept going anyway. There may be places along the back that have learned to stay ready, as though something were always coming, as though rest were temporary, as though the body must remain prepared to rise at once. Nothing is asking the back to carry the next hour. The surface beneath you can take more of the weight. You do not need to hold yourself above support. Being supported is not the same as losing strength the back. He can return. Another piece of effort reaches the hive, then the hips. Deep places of movement and stability. They have carried transitions all day, sitting, standing, walking, turning, moving from one responsibility into another. They have held what the upper body placed upon them. There is no direction to travel now, no doorway to cross, no room to enter, no task on the other side of the house, no field waiting to be reached. The hips can stop preparing for movement. They can receive stillness without becoming trapped by it. Stillness is only this moment. The hips can return. The path home becomes shorter, then the legs. How many places have they taken you? How many times did they continue because continuing was what the day required? Even on a quiet day, the legs carry the readiness to move, to get up, to leave, to respond, to go where something needs attention. Tonight, there is nowhere they have to prove they can reach. The distant edge can remain distant. Tomorrow's road can remain tomorrow's road. The legs can stop carrying imagined journeys. They can return from places you have not even gone yet. Return from tomorrow morning. Return from next week. Return from the conversation you keep rehearsing. Return from the future where you were trying to make everything turn out correctly. The legs can return. No more roads tonight, then the feet. The farthest point from the busy mind, yet they have held the whole day against the ground. They know weight, pressure, balance, movement. They know every place the body stood while the mind was somewhere else. They have carried you through days you wanted to leave and moments you wanted to stay. They have brought you here. That is enough. There is no next step required now. The feet do not need to know where life is going. They do not need a map. They do not need to point toward an answer. They can stop being prepared for departure. The feet can return. The last visible journey ends at home. Forehead, eyes, jaw, throat, shoulders, chest, hands, stomach, back, hips, legs, feet. The whole body has been invited back without being ordered to change. Nothing had to be dragged. Nothing had to disappear. This matters. Release is not always something leaving. Sometimes release is something no longer being required to work. The forehead may still contain sensation. It has no assignment. The eyes may still move beneath closed lids. They have no assignment. The jaw may still carry some tension. No assignment. The throat may still hold words. No assignment. The shoulders may not feel completely loose. No assignment. The chest may still contain emotion. No assignment. The hands may still want to reach. No assignment. The stomach may still hold uncertainty. No assignment. The back may still remember the day. No assignment. The hips may still contain restlessness. No assignment. The legs may still feel the echo of movement. No assignment. The feet may still feel awake. No assignment. This is how the inner guard begins understanding that rest does not require perfection. The gate can remain secure while the workers sleep. You do not need every sensation to disappear before the body receives permission to stop serving the day. Think again of the hive after dusk. The outer world has not ceased existing. The fields remain. Flowers remain. Distances remain. Weather remains. Tomorrow remains. But the work has changed because the hour has changed. The same can be true within you. Problems still exist. Some concerns remain legitimate. Some decisions remain unfinished. Some relationships remain complicated. Your future has not been solved by lying down. That was never the promise. The promise was different. You would not have to carry all of it at full weight through every hour. There is courage in that distinction. You are not saying nothing matters. You are saying not everything must be held right now. You are not saying tomorrow will fix everything. You are saying tomorrow may carry what belongs to tomorrow. You are not saying fear is meaningless. You are saying fear does not need the entire night. You are not saying the day did not leave marks. You are saying those marks do not need constant pressure to prove they happened. The body kept the score because it was listening. Listening to tension, listening to uncertainty, listening to effort, listening to what you swallowed, listening to what frightened you, listening to what mattered. Now it can hear something else. The shift is over. not your life, not your responsibility, not your wisdom, only the shift. That sentence can reach places thought does not easily reach. The shift is over. The watcher can come inside. The keeper of the list can set the list down. The one who predicts can stop forecasting. The one who replays can leave the scene. The one who protects can stand somewhere other than the doorway. No one is being dismissed forever. They are being given an evening. What would remain if every inner worker stopped patrolling for a while? At first you might expect emptiness, but emptiness is not quite the word. There would still be you, not the productive you, not the prepared you, not the socially acceptable you, not the version trying to explain itself, not the version solving tomorrow, just the life beneath all those roles, the quiet center, the hive after the returning. We are not fully there yet. There are still a few wings moving in the dark. A few words left to settle. A few small truths waiting to become shorter. That is where we are going next. The language will become less complicated because the night no longer needs complicated language. The field will recede. The center will become enough. You have already done the difficult part. You stopped chasing. You gave the scattered places somewhere to return. You allowed the body to end tasks one region at a time. Now the remaining movement can become smaller, a little less distance, a little less effort, a little less need to know. The hive is quieter than it was. The entrance remains open. Nothing is being forced through it. The final workers know the way. The light is low now, and home is close. Home is close enough now that you do not have to reach for it. The last part of the night does not need more explanation. You have already followed the long path from effort toward return. You have seen how the mind flies outward, how it searches, how it predicts, how it tries to protect through movement, how it mistakes constant attention for safety. And you have seen something else. The hive never had to chase the field. It only had to remain. That is what remains when the inner watcher stops patrolling for a while. Not nothing, not emptiness, not the disappearance of your personality, not the loss of responsibility, not a blank mind. What remains is the part of you that was never the patrol, the part beneath the checking, beneath the rehearsing, beneath the correcting, beneath the protecting, beneath the effort to remain one step ahead of life. There is still a living center, a quiet belonging, a place where you exist before anyone asks anything from you. This was the smaller question we left waiting. What remains when nothing inside you has to patrol the day anymore? You remain, not as a task, not as a problem, not as someone who must immediately become better. You remain as life resting inside itself. The worker can stop working and still belong. The watcher can close its eyes and still matter. The responsible part can loosen its grip and still be responsible tomorrow. The loving part can sleep without loving anyone less. The careful part can rest without becoming careless. The strong part can become quiet without losing strength. This is the truth waiting beneath the patrol. Your value does not disappear when your usefulness stops. Your belonging does not disappear when you stop performing. Your safety does not depend on thinking every thought to completion. Your future does not require tonight's exhaustion as payment. The hive is quieter now, so the words can become quieter too. You do not need long explanations anymore. You have heard enough language to understand the direction. Now the language can become something closer to rhythm. One line, then another. No need to memorize them. No need to repeat everyone. Some may feel true. Some may feel almost true. Some may feel too far away tonight. Let them pass according to their own weight. You are not being tested. These are places to land. I can come home to myself without chasing every thought. The day can end without every question being answered. My mind is permitted to leave some fields unfinished. I do not have to follow every thought that takes flight. I can care without carrying everything through the night. What belongs to tomorrow can remain with tomorrow. I can rest while life is unfinished. My body does not need to prove what today required from it. I can respect what I felt without reliving it all night. A thought can exist without becoming an instruction. A fear can speak without becoming a prophecy. A memory can return without becoming a punishment. An unanswered question can wait outside the dark. I do not need to supervise every possibility. I am permitted to stop rehearsing. I am permitted to stop reviewing. I am permitted to leave some things unmeasured. My worth is not counted by how much I carry. My care is not measured by exhaustion. My love does not require constant vigilance. My strength includes return. My wisdom includes rest. I can come home to myself without chasing every thought. There is room for the tired parts of me. There is room for the uncertain parts. There is room for the part that still wants answers. There is room for the part that does not know what comes next. There is room for the part that needs more time. There is room for the part that is ready to stop. No part of me has to arrive perfectly. No part of me has to explain where it has been. The hive does not interrogate what returns. I do not have to interrogate myself. I can receive myself after an imperfect day. I can receive myself after an emotional day. I can receive myself after an ordinary day that somehow exhausted me. I can receive myself after making a mistake. I can receive myself while still learning. I can receive myself while uncertain. I can receive myself while healing remains incomplete. I am willing to believe that rest can become safer for me. A little safer. A little more familiar. A little less guarded. A little less earned. A little more natural. My body can learn from new moments. My mind can learn that every question does not need a nighttime answer. The worker in me can have an evening. The protector in me can step inside. The watcher in me can stop counting. The keeper of the list can put the list down. The one who prepares for disappointment can stop preparing for 1 hour. The one who expects the next problem can stand somewhere other than the doorway. The one who learned to stay ready is still welcome here. Kyon. Nothing inside me needs punishment for trying to protect me. Old patterns can be understood without remaining in charge. I can appreciate what once helped me and still choose something different now. I do not have to hate vigilance in order to outgrow it. I do not have to shame fear in order to stop following it. I do not have to attack my mind in order to become quieter. I do not have to force the wings down. The light can lower. The movement can lessen. The distance can shrink. The center can remain. The hive can receive. I return to my hive as the light lowers. I return from tomorrow. I return from yesterday. I return from other people's imagined thoughts. I return from conversations that are not happening now. I return from futures I cannot control tonight. I return from explanations that may never arrive. I return from the need to know everything before rest. I return from the pressure to understand myself completely. I return from the field of comparison. I return from the field of self-judgment. I return from the field of proving. I return from the field of endless preparation. I return. The field can wait. Tomorrow can wait. The answer can wait. The mess, age can wait. The decision can wait. The explanation can wait. The unfinished part can wait. For this hour, I am here. Here is enough. This moment is enough. This surface is enough. This room is enough. This breath is enough. I do not need to travel farther. The day has already had me. The night does not need the same version of me. I can be less available to worry now. I can be less available to rehearsal. I can be less available to imagined emergencies. I can become available to rest. Not perfectly. Only honestly. The light is lower. The field is farther away. The wings are fewer. The hive is warmer. The entrance is open. I belong inside. There is nothing strange about returning slowly. There is nothing wrong with one thought arriving late. There is nothing wrong with a mind that needs time to understand the work is finished. I do not need to stand outside waiting for every last thought. Some things can find their own way. Some things can remain outside until morning. Some things may disappear because they were never as urgent as exhaustion made them seem. I do not need to decide which is which tonight. I trust the hour to become smaller. I trust distance to lose importance. I trust the body to know more about rest than conscious effort knows. I can stop trying to manufacture sleep. I can make room. I can reduce the work. I can stop adding another question. I can stop asking whether I am calm enough. I can stop checking whether I am doing this correctly. Nothing needs to be measured. Nothing needs a score. The body already kept enough scores today. It measured tension. It measured waiting. It measured uncertainty. It measured every moment you held something in. It measured effort no one saw. It measured the times you stayed composed. It measured the moments when you wanted reassurance. It measured every little preparation for something that might happen. Tonight, the measuring can stop. No score. No grade. No final report. The day happened. You lived it. Now another rhythm is beginning. the hive after work, the wings after distance, the quiet after gathering, the body after carrying. There is no need to erase yourself. Only the unnecessary continuation of the day can fade. You keep your wisdom. You keep what matters. You keep the boundary you learned you need. You keep the truth you discovered. You keep the love. You keep the lesson if there was one. You keep the right to make a different decision tomorrow. You keep your discernment. You keep yourself. The strain does not have to be the thing that preserves the memory. You do not have to remain tense in order to remember what mattered. You do not have to remain afraid in order to stay wise. You do not have to keep the body braced in order to honor what it survived. You can remember without gripping. You can learn without rehearsing. You can care without carrying. You can return without forgetting. That is the kind of erasing tonight offers. Not memory erased. Not truth erased. Not responsibility erased. Only some of the unnecessary pressure written around them. The day wrote heavily in places. The jaw, the chest, the stomach, the shoulders, the mind. Tonight does not tear out the page. It lets the pressure lift from the pencil. It lets the hand stop writing. It lets the page remain without another mark added. Your body does not have to keep today's score through the night. It has recorded enough. Now it can become something other than a record keeper. It can become a place you inhabit again. A place that holds warmth. A place that receives weight. A place that does know, that asks where you have been before letting you enter. The forehead has no assignment. The eyes have no assignment. The jaw has no assignment. The throat has no assignment. The shoulders have no assignment. The chest has no assignment. The hands have no assignment. The stomach has no assignment. The back has no assignment. The hips have no assignment. The legs have no assignment. The feet have no assignment. No assignment. No patrol. No counting. No chasing. No need to arrive anywhere else. The day is farther away now, not gone. Farther. That is enough. The field is dim. The paths are soft. The far edge is disappearing. One worker comes home, then another, then another. No one is asking how long it took. No one is asking why it wandered. No one is asking what it should have done differently. Return is enough. Home is enough. You are enough for this hour. The word enough can settle differently here. Not as resignation, as completion of today's shift. Enough searching, enough proving, enough predicting, enough carrying, enough revisiting, enough becoming. For now, only for now. Tomorrow may ask new things. Tomorrow may bring movement again. There may be conversations, choices, responsibilities, questions. Good news, difficult news, ordinary moments, unexpected turns. You will meet tomorrow as tomorrow becomes real. You do not have to meet it in advance. Tonight is real now. This bed is real now. This room is real now. The weight of your body is real now. The field inside your imagination is not asking for another journey. The hive is here. Return. Rest. Home. Quiet. Enough. No chase. No score. No proof. No patrol. Just return. The body can soften in its own time. The mind can slow in its own time. Sleep can come in its own time. Nothing needs to be pulled closer. Nothing needs to be pushed away. Return. Lower light. Quiet wings. Warm center. Open door. Home. If a thought comes now, it does not mean anything has gone wrong. A late bee can still return. If another memory appears, there is room. If a worry crosses through, there is room. If your body shifts, there is room. If you are still awake, there is room. If sleep has already begun pulling at the edges of these words, you do not need to resist it to hear anything more. Nothing important is waiting at the end, like a reward you must remain awake to receive. If sleep takes you before the final words, nothing is missed. The message does not become incomplete because you stop consciously listening. You already know the direction. No chase, return. No patrol, return. No proof, return. No perfect ending, return. The deeper mind does not need every sentence. The body does not need every word. You have already given it something more valuable, permission to stop serving the day, so the words can become fewer. I return. I belong. I can rest. Thoughts can pass. Tomorrow can wait. The field can wait. I am here. Home is here. Less effort, less distance. Lower light, quiet wings, safe enough. Rest is possible. No chasing, no proving, no counting, no score. I return, I return. Home, quiet, enough. And if there is one word from tonight that feels like yours, you can keep it close. You do not need to decide now. It may be home, rest, trust, enough, return, peace, softness, safety, or a word that belongs only to you. If tomorrow you want to leave that one word in the comments, let it be a small marker of what you chose to stop carrying through the dark. No explanation is necessary. One word is enough. For tonight, even that can wait. The watcher has come inside now. The list is on the floor. The gate remains. Nothing has been lost. This is what was underneath all that vigilance, not emptiness. Life, quiet life, breathing without being managed, existing without being evaluated, belonging without being earned. The part of you that does not have to perform to remain yours. You were never only the one who kept watch. You were also the one worth watching over. And now even that watch can become softer. The body has heard the change. It does not have to keep writing today's pressure into tomorrow. It may carry memory, wisdom, emotion, human tenderness, but it does not have to carry every ounce of strain unchanged. Tonight can be the place where some of that pressure loses its grip. Not because you commanded it, because the field became quiet enough for return, because you stopped chasing, because the hive remained, because you remained. All is well in your world. Not because every circumstance is perfect, not because every answer has arrived, not because nothing difficult exists. Because in this small hour, you are no longer demanding that your whole life resolve itself before you may rest. The field can be dark. The hive can be warm. Some questions can remain outside. Some answers can arrive another day. There is no need for another journey now. No need for another thought. No need for another score. Lower light, closer home. Quieter wings, resting body, open hive. The night can carry what you no longer need to hold awake. And if one last thought crosses the distance, there is no need to follow it. It knows the way. The hive is quiet now, and every tired wing knows the way.